Alrighty, what's going on YouTube? Seth Morrison here again. Another video for you. Had to replace the thermocouple and the pilot light setup on my camper today. So I have hot water again. Wasn't as easy as I thought it was going to be, but it was easier than I thought it was going to be, if that makes any sense. So I was going to show you the damage and stuff to the cylinder and the piston of the bike. And give me just a second here. Alright, so that is the side of the piston that came out of my motor. As you notice here, there is an arrow on top of the cylinder, or on the piston, I'm sorry. Well, that arrow is supposed to face here, the exhaust port. Now, I don't know if we're going to be able to show, but there's a gouge right in here that I filed off so I can maybe save this piston, but I just realized there's that crack down there, so this piston is, or this cylinder is shot. But so yeah, this is how it was supposed to go in, facing like that. When they installed it and shipped it out to me, it was like that. Now, the thing is from the research I have done, 2 strokes. As you can see, there's no valves, no nothing. You have your intake, your exhaust over here, and then you have these 2 ports on either side. Those are what they call the transfer ports. Now these transfer ports along here, what it does is that piston goes down in the cylinder. This cup down here presses air into the crankcase. So there is, like everybody knows, 2-strokes don't use oil. They have oil in the gas. So, where was I going with this? Oh, so it has those ports. Well, since they sent me, these engines have a really tight tolerance, as you can't already tell. I mean, I hope when the new piston comes in it fits better than this one did, but I got it stuck. Oops. That's not gonna work. There we go. But, so the reason for the arrow is since these don't have oil and don't cool as efficiently, this exhaust side is thicker than the intake side. So what they did when they put it in backwards, see all the markings right there? This side of the piston got so hot being on the exhaust side that it expanded, which then caused the piston to shift, which sent that side of the piston into the gouge that was in the transfer port. And this is why I will never deal with CUTech again. Also, they sent me a new cylinder where this fin here was completely broke off right along here. Completely different color. It's more of a bright white almost. Real cheaply looking made. But I mean, it was only $130. What can I really expect? Now, what I do plan on doing is eventually having the ports on that other cylinder head, if it's in any kind of decent shape, having them ported and polished. Same with the intake and the exhaust ports, for better airflow, and see if that does anything. Now, I've seen these guys use boost bottles. I'm not sure how that really works. Supposedly, with the way two-strokes work, it sends a percussive wave back into the carburetor with fuel-air mixture, and it sends it back out of the carb. Well, supposedly the boost bottle, you put it like right here after the carburetor, and instead of sending that pressure wave and fuel and air mixture back into the carburetor, it sends it up into the bottle. So you can have better idling and better throttle response and a whole number of things. I don't know if I'm going to go that route. I think once I have this whole new setup broke in, I'm going to do the reed valves to prevent that. It's a older technology that, I mean, it can be improved upon, but there's really no need to. So there's that for today. Work tried calling me in, unfortunately, but because the way my schedule is, I'd been up all night, hadn't slept yet, and by the time I would have gotten any sleep when they wanted me to come in, it had just been a nightmare. Got the camper pretty well set up the way I want it. As you can kind of see, I'm trying to do like a backdrop now. Something that seems a little more, I don't know, professional, I guess. I probably should have recorded this sitting that way more because the lighting's better, but it is what it is. I do plan on having a light mounted up on the other wall, one of them bright white ones, to really show me better, I guess. And I am thinking about starting up a second channel. I'm not quite sure what the content of it will be, but I mean, there's a lot of these guys out there have 2, 3, 4, and 5 channels, you know what I mean? See if I can't start a channel that can finally gain some traction, because it seems like this one's just not being watched, mainly. One thing I did want to talk about is this Trump Care emails I keep getting. Trump Care, I guess, is a newer form of Medicare, kind of like Obamacare, but it's for the elderly. There's really no use of it for younger people like myself. It's Medicare is all it is. Why mess with something that was already in place? It's one thing I've never understood about our political system. It's just, it is what it is, I guess. I mean, there's really not much I can do about it. I voted, and the stuff I voted on hasn't done any good. Nobody's really kept up on the promises that they've made, or there's some backdoor jargon in the law that has passed that negates what the original law was set to do. So, I mean, politics are getting bad. And then all these school shootings. I am one of the few that believe in arming veterans and placing them outside of the schools. And maybe one or two walking the school. These men are trained killers. They fought for their country over against enemies unlike the likes we'll ever see over here. Now what I mean by that is enemies that will blow themselves up just to take out one guy. Risk killing hundreds of innocents just to kill one military man on the opposing side. And these men, these veterans, were trained to fight those. So I think if they can go against that kind of an enemy, they should be able to handle some psychopath with a assault rifle. The definition of assault rifle: you could turn a bolt-action 30-06 into an assault rifle. The legal definition is a civilian version of a military weapon. Well, some of the older World War II weapons we now use to hunt. Why aren't those considered assault weapons? Just because the AR-15 looks like an M16 doesn't make it as bad as everybody makes it out to be. And you know, the whole high capacity magazine thing, that in itself is retarded discussion material. Whoever chooses to have how much ammunition and how big of a magazine to carry it, it's up to them. It's none of your business. It's none of my business. It's none of the government's business. Now, if they get caught using that stuff in a felonious manner, then yes, the government should step in and do something with that individual. Now, I personally and myself am not allowed to own guns. We're not going to get into the details, but that doesn't mean I can't advocate for the gun rights of other law-abiding citizens. I feel that as long as you are an educated gun owner, someone who is of sound state of mind, you should be allowed to own guns in any capacity and form that you want. Now, the one exception to the rule that I do agree with is the tax stamps for the fully automatic. There's a little bit more of an in-depth background check done from my understanding. I could be wrong. I do know you have to pay more for that license. And that's the one I feel the government should be allowed to control. Now, whether you like it or not, criminals are going to get their hands on guns. Whether they are having them shipped in from other countries in pieces and putting them together and then selling them to the crackhead down the street, or they're breaking into your home and finding a way into your gun cabinet or your dresser drawer or your nightstand drawer where you keep that pistol. No matter what you do, criminals are going to get their hands on guns. The government can try to ban them all they want. You know, there's plenty of YouTube videos on how to make guns out of household materials. Granted, they're not, you know, most of them don't have the ability to go semi-automatic, or I've seen some guys modify semi-autos into full autos. Once again, that shows the ingenuity of a criminal. Why punish the rest of us? Well, I can't say us because I'm not really included in that. I'm in the category that's not allowed to have them. Why punish the rest of the society that are responsible gun owners and use them the way they are intended for the actions of the few? Now, I believe in that philosophy in a lot of things. Why punish the many for the actions of the few? You know, I understand it is a preventative measure, according to lawmakers. Most people just don't get caught, you know. I've done a lot of dumb things in my life, and I've gotten caught for most of them. I'm one of the unlucky ones. But a lot of that came down to do with some poor life choices that I was making. You know, I've done my time in jail. I'm still doing the probation thing. You know, I have a record that's going to prevent me from doing a lot of things. But as you can tell, I'm pretty intelligent. Not the best spoken, but I try. I never graduated high school. I had to drop out of the Army when I was 18 or 19, I can't remember, because of a bad hip that was a pre-existing condition that I didn't even know I had. And it came down to two choices, and I chose to quit. Just, I don't know, I see a lot in society today that really upsets me. You know, I understand these kids marching for, you know, anti-bullying and, you know, no more gun violence. But the thing is those things have always been around, and they will continue to be around no matter what you do. These, for the lack of a better term, snowflakes. Get over yourself. You're not gonna get anywhere. There are too many red-blooded Americans that are gonna stand between you and your extreme left agenda. You can call me alt-right, you can call me far-right, you can call me whatever. I'm a red-blooded American. I believe in our Constitution in every aspect. I believe that you should uphold the law, even though I've made my mistakes when I was younger. I have changed. I have grown up. And it's taken a long time for me to do that. I've lost a lot of good friends. I've lost family over it. But you know what I did? When I got bucked off that horse, I got back up, dusted myself off, pulled my bootstraps tight, and hopped back on. What a lot of people don't realize anymore, you gotta have drive. Not many people have that anymore. They want something for nothing. And that really upsets me. You know, I've had to work hard for everything I've ever gotten. Even when I was a kid. You know, granted, I got the nice things at Christmas, but they came at a price. Parents not being around because they're working extra hours. So I could have that game console. So I could have that new bike. You know, I remember, it's going to show how old I am, when you could get $100 worth of groceries at City Market and it filled a shopping cart and a half. Now, it fills one of them little shopping carts. I remember when 20 bucks used to get you 20 gallons of gas. Yeah. I'm that old. And you know, I got away with a lot when I was younger because of who my dad was. He has a particular job that he is very familiar with those in law enforcement. And because I was his kid, when they'd pull me over or stop me, 9 times out of 10, I'd go home, Seth. So that's what I would do. And I didn't really learn any lessons that way. It wasn't until I turned 18 and my parents got divorced that I started learning lessons the hard way. And continued to do that for 12 years. Made a lot of mistakes. September of this year, I will have been on probation for 7 years. Because I owe a lot of money in restitution. But I'm paying on it what I can every month. As you can see, I have a home. I have electricity, obviously. I have internet. I have a phone. I have running water. I have everything a person needs, and a little extra. You know, I don't need internet. I didn't need to put an engine on my bicycle. I don't need a cell phone, but I like having one. And this goes back to the drive. Because I want these things, I'm going to do what it takes to get these things. I had a pretty decent job working at Subway, but the hours started getting cut. And at $10.20 an hour, 13 hours a week just isn't going to pay the bills. Especially when my rent is what it is a month. And so I found a job working at the truck stop. 36 hours a week, guaranteed, never to change. Set days on, set days off. It's time. You know, I mean, granted, it's not the best pay, but it'll do. I'll have enough to pay my bills every month. I guess that's just what bothers me so much with people now. No one's wanting to work for anything. They all expect a handout. I applied for food stamps. Didn't get them. And the only reason I applied for them was because at Subway I was getting 23 hours a week. I wasn't hardly making enough money to even feed myself. I was having to borrow money from family so I could get a few groceries at the gas station across the street. Like my fridge, it's pretty well empty. My cupboards are pretty well empty. But I have what I need. I have enough food to get by. Granted, I'm not cooking fancy meals. Yeah, I'm eating ramen and macaroni and cheese and tuna fish sandwiches and peanut butter and jelly, but when you can't afford eggs or fresh fruit or fresh veggies because the price of them has gone up because minimum wage has gone up. Catch-22. You guys expect to be able to afford things on minimum wage at $15 an hour when they have to increase the price of everything almost threefold to cover your wages, the person who delivered you the product's wages, the person picking the product or making the product's wages? Because let's say there's two guys working in the same factory. One's making minimum wage, and let's say it's $8 an hour. And another guy's making $12 an hour because he's been there longer. Well, when minimum wage gets bumped up to $15 an hour, technically they should bump this guy that's at 12 beyond 15. And in order to cover both those wages, the cost of that good skyrockets. I mean, it all sounds good in theory. And you know, I remember making minimum wage myself when I first started working it. And at Wendy's back in when I was 17, 18, minimum wage was $5.35 an hour. And I could afford things then. It's at $10.20 an hour now, and I can barely afford to scrape by. Just think about that. You know? But this video's gone on long enough. I could probably talk for another 30-45 minutes. I'm not gonna do that to you guys. But just thanks for watching. Remember, visit my Patreon page. Become a Patreon or a patron. That way I can afford the lights, the editing software, things of that nature to help this channel grow. Maybe if I start bringing in some money with your guys' help, I can start doing some nicer things for the channel. Maybe some product reviews, and just some really neat stuff. And also remember, subscribe, like, share, and comment. I'll try to keep the videos coming, folks.